We are about to do our very first tier list for season 2 of My Hero Ultra Rumble, and we finally get to place my boy Endeavor. But along with the season 2 update and the addition of Endeavor, they gave us a bunch of changes to a bunch of characters that is definitely gonna shake up the meta. Now, I have tested all these changes, maybe not super extensively as much as I should have, so things might change in the future weeks, but for this first week of season 2 and this tier list, quite a few characters are going to be moving around. So let's just start with the most obvious one, and that is going to be Tsu. So Tsu's beta skill, which was like her bread and butter, right, has been nerfed. So she got a nerf the last patch, she got a nerf this patch, she lost some of her alpha, now she's losing some of her beta, and oh my gosh, they want Tsu in the ground 6 feet under. But I will say, I do think she is still S tier. However, she is almost definitely not above Todoroki and Deku now. Todoroki and Deku easily clap Tsu, and there might be an argument now for Uraraka to also be S tier with Tsu. Actually, at this point, Uraraka is probably equally as good as Tsu, so I'm going to move Uraraka up as well. The reason being, Tsu's beta skill is now uniform at all levels when in the air. So instead of having a bigger hitbox as you level it up to level 9, it stays the same. Okay, whereas Uraraka, on the other hand, swings the freaking car at you at level 9. Actually, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put Uraraka above Tsu. Uraraka is now above Tsu. That's crazy to me. But really, when you think about it, Uraraka has a better beta skill now, and now that her alpha skill works, I don't know, Uraraka might be the better choice. Plus, she has a third damaging move. Granted, that damaging move where she picks up all the debris and drops it may not fit together well with the rest of her kit, but Tsu doesn't have another damaging move. She has her alpha and her beta, and then she has camouflage. The camouflage is super helpful for reviving people. She has the revive and everything. I don't know, it's really debatable which one of these goes higher. But for right now, just like for sake of kit and damage and usability, especially like if you're taking these characters into ranked and looking to do well and get downs and KOs, I think Uraraka is probably above Tsu now with the fixes. And thank goodness they fixed her alpha zodiac wire. That is so amazing. Like, I know people have been waiting for this. I know people have wanted this. Uraraka, now in S tier, it feels good to say it, right? The next character we have to move is Denki, okay? Denki Kaminari got his quirk skill, Gamma Human Stun Gun nerf. So what they did is they adjusted it so that it was easier to blow away opponents. And if you know anything about his Gamma skill, the point of his Gamma skill is to stun lock people into a combo with your beta. So if you're knocking opponents away from you, then he's not able to do what he should be doing. Now, I will say, when I tested this, I didn't notice that much of a difference. I could be wrong. You know, maybe some like Denki mains have felt it more than people who just play him every once in a while like myself, but I did not notice that big of a change. So I don't know where I'm gonna move him. Like, ideally you would think I'd move him down because it's a nerf, right? But I still feel like he might be better. He's definitely better than Mount Lady right now, because Mount Lady has in turn been nerfed by Aizawa being buffed. But I don't think he's better than Shigaraki. So we're going to move Kaminari down one spot below Shigaraki. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this too. I'm going to move Mount Lady down to the top of B tier, okay? I've been moving Mount Lady all around, okay? But I have a reason for it, and it's literally this guy right here. Aizawa just claps Mount Lady now, especially with his buffs, and turning off her quirk makes her giant form essentially useless. You better just hope there's not an Aizawa in the lobby. Also, it's harder to be a Mount Lady main now because Endeavor's in the game, and Endeavor can just literally laser beam you to death. So there's a lot of things not really working in Mount Lady's favor. Yes, she has the giant form. Yes, she takes reduced damage, but she doesn't have as much mobility as these characters above her, right? And she just doesn't have as good of AoE as these three characters right here above her. Kirishima, Shigaraki, and Kaminari still all have better AoE. Her ground stomp is okay, but these guys are all better. Like, significantly, I would say. So I feel like I can't put her on the same level as these other characters. And you know, everybody's going to be upset. They're like, I want my favorite character in A tier or higher. Every character has potential to be an S tier character, guys, but just going based on the general populace of the game, based on the kits, right? There are some characters that have kits that aren't as good as others, and right now Mountain Lady is one of those characters. She has to be moved down to B tier. Hopefully that makes sense. The next character I want to talk about, All Might. All Might has been in A tier for a very long time. He's been towards the top of A tier. They did change some things with All Might, and I have had a lot of people say All Might should be S tier. I don't think so. I still don't think so, even with the changes, right? He's just not as good as these characters above him. He's going to get outranged. He's going to get outmaneuvered by these two specifically, right? So he's just going to have a hard time keeping up with the characters above him. But what did they change on All Might? They changed his carry action, so it's a little bit easier to pick people up, which is nice, but that doesn't really affect his gameplay. And they also changed his high jump, so now that, just like Iida on his Gamma skill, you can cancel it with a roll cancel. So if you're going to do a high jump to get away and you decide you want to stay to fight or whatever, you can roll cancel that high jump. But that's still not that big of a deal, and it doesn't really change anything about the way he plays. So for that reason, All Might is going to stay where he is. Next up, for characters that got changed in the recent patch, we have Aizawa. Okay, a lot of things happened to this character, making him so much more playable. So for his quirk skill Alpha, which is his binding cloth capture, right? They increased the range of it. They increased the speed of it. They increased his jump height after landing, giving him more maneuverability, making him harder to hit. And when you use it in the air now, the grabbed opponent will now be staggered on the spot. All of this is beautiful, but they did more. They did more. This is my favorite part right here. Special action erasure reduced time lag from activation to sealing of the quirk, and they changed it so that the item use and action and final attack cannot be interrupted. But I think the fact that there is no longer a lag time is going to make him feel so much more consistent. Now, the one thing I will say about Aizawa's special action is, like, unlike Endeavor's skill lets him fly around, right? And as he flies around, he can actually get the percentage of the special skill down to 50%, and he can still use it even at 50% down to 0. Whereas Aizawa, let's say he only uses half of his erasure down to 50%, you have to wait for it to recharge to 100 before you can use it again, right? So that really limits his erasure and how often he can use it. Whereas other characters that have special actions that are limited by a bar, if it goes down to 50%, they don't have to wait for it to charge back up to 100. They can actually use it again at 50% and use up what's left of it. So that really limits Aizawa on what he can do with that erasure. So just keep that in mind as well. So with all that said, his alpha skill being fixed, his erasure being buffed, his gamma skill was fixed in the last patch, or up the damage. He's much more viable now, way more viable. And in terms of where I want to move him, I think he's still a B tier character. I think he goes towards the top of B tier now, though, assuming everything works correctly. I don't know if they exactly fixed. We haven't seen anything about the beta and the tracking. I think the beta is relatively okay, but once in a while the beta tracking still messes up. And then the alpha still sometimes just like knocks people, or I don't know if it does really, I haven't tested them too much, but I assume it probably still knocks people down every once in a while instead of grabbing them. I haven't experienced that myself yet, so hopefully that's not happening anymore, but it definitely could be. So for right now, I'm going to kind of play it safe. I'm going to place him in B tier. There might be an argument to have him higher, but yes, he is going at the top of B tier. Yes, I am going to put him above Mount Lady because he has so much team utility. He has a lot more movement now. He has a lot more damage now. He has an insane amount of range now. And his moves that much faster. Like, he could definitely move up or down in the coming weeks, you know, once we get more testing, once we play him some more. But I feel like the top of B tier is totally fair for him and a lot better than him being in C tier. With that said, there is a character here at the bottom of B tier who I feel like deserves to move up. Kendo players, you're getting your moment right now. Okay, they upped Kendo's speed when in battle. So now while she is on the ground, she can run around quicker than most other characters. And so what that means is she's definitely above Ibura. I would put her above Dabi as well. And I would keep her right about there, actually. I would keep Yayorozu above her. Now, let me explain why I'm moving her above Dabi and Ibura, because a lot of people disagree with Dabi being down here. I get a few people disagreeing with Ibura being down here, but Ibura has like literally no movement. She does have the revive, which is nice, but her biggest problem is not having movement, right? And she has no way to defend herself. Kendo now has movement, and she can defend herself, right? And she does really good damage with her alpha, and her gamma does really good damage as well. Dabi, on the other hand, he can defend himself with his Ring of Fire, but that Ring of Fire does not have as much uptime as Kendo's shield when she defends herself, and Kendo's shield, I would say, is better because she can directionally position it and hold it up pretty much as long as she wants, because that shield, let's face it, it lasts pretty much forever, whereas Dabi's fire has a very limited amount of time with the fire ring where it is protecting him. In terms of movement now, if you compare these two as well, Kendo now has a little bit better movement. Dabi does have the better range when it comes to his alpha skill, but I feel like since Kendo is a shotgun character, the fact that she has that movement now is just, you're going to see Kendo mains kind of explode. They're going to be a lot better than they used to be. So keep that in mind, Kendo mains. If you didn't know about this buff, now is your time. Play her. I'm keeping her below Yayorozu, and I'm keeping her below these characters here. The reason she is staying below Yayorozu is because I feel like Yayorozu's beta is still a little bit better because she blocks herself while at the same time dealing damage. So like when you compare that ability to block projectiles and things like that, they can both do similar things, but now Yayorozu can do damage. She can also offer support to herself and her team with her grab bag, and I would say her alpha is a little bit better than Kendo's, being that it is so sweeping and wide range. Like they're kind of similar characters, but Yayorozu, I would say, just has the edge. And then of course Yayorozu has the cannon that gives her that extra range that Kendo doesn't have. In place of the cannon where Yayorozu's skill is, you have Kendo's clap, which is another close range ability. So I would say range wise and defending wise, Yayorozu still has a slight advantage over Kendo. Next, we have to talk about Compress. Oh my goodness, this was the one. This was the most noticeable buff, I swear, by far. It's insane, okay? So what they did is they took his gamma skill, which is called Magician's Choice, and reduced the time it takes to activate. Before, it felt like it took a second to activate, and you would oftentimes end up dying when you're trying to escape with Compress or put a teammate in your pocket. Now I'm not afraid to run into a fight, put a teammate in my pocket, and get out of there, because that gamma skill, instantaneous. It's so fast. It's really, really good now. He has really good movement now. And so for that reason, I think we're going to move Compress up above Cementoss. Like, it's so good. And on that note, we have another character we need to move. This was from, not this patch, but the previous patch, where they buffed Toga. Toga is so freaking annoying now with her beta skill, just being able to literally spam her beta skill. As a base kit, I had Toga here in A tier, but I think now with her beta skill being buffed the way it is, she has a lot more movement. She has an auto lock gamma skill. Her alpha skill is rapid fire and insanely good. So she has range, she has movement, she has like an auto target ability. She can transform into the best characters in the game, right? And so for that reason, I feel like Toga is actually, I'm gonna put her up above All Might for right now. I'm on the nerf Toga train, man, because that buff was ridiculous to her. It made her so good, like ridiculously good. The next character is Iida. A lot of people have been saying Iida is also meta right now, and I don't think Iida's necessarily meta. I think he's very good. I think he's more of an annoyance though, and I find that good Iidas will get into a fight and get out, and a lot of times they struggle to actually get the kills. And I feel like now with the change of the KO system, we'll actually get to see if Iidas are able to get kills or if they were just stealing KOs before. That'll be interesting to see how that one ends up working out. But out of the speed characters, I do feel like Uraraka and Tsu are still stronger than Iida, and I feel like these two characters right here, All Might and Toga, are still stronger than Iida. Don't get me wrong, Iida is still a very strong character, but I don't think he deserves to be above All Might or Toga. I do think he still deserves to be above Compressed probably, and probably above Cementoss. And I love Cementoss, man. I haven't really talked about him much in this video. I think I've talked about everybody else at this point. I love Cementoss. He has great vertical mobility. He can, if you know how to play him, do very well. He can also be the biggest troll character for your team. So Cementoss is one of those characters who I would say is very hard to place just because of his kit and what he does. I feel like the middle of A tier though is a solid place for him to be. And last but not least for this tier list, let's talk about my boy Endeavor. Oh my goodness. So he has a literal freaking laser. He can close the gap on you by jumping and pressing your dash button, or you can back up while lasering somebody by jumping and pressing your dash button. And you can also snipe people from across the map with his beta skill, the sphere. Or you can literally team wipe a whole team. Let's say you're like in tunnel of mountain zone, you got a team in front of you, and you use his prominence burn. Holy crap. And you can change the direction of the prominence burn, albeit slightly, but you can literally just destroy teams with this guy. He is so good. Not to mention he has essentially 3 special actions. He has his high jump. He has his hover ability when you press spacebar. He also has his dash/fly ability when you press shift, or not shift. Shift is on keyboard, but when you press your dash ability in a certain direction after jumping. So having 3 special abilities essentially makes him absolutely insane. He has great mobility, he has great range, he has great damage, and he has AoE. I'm just saying, guys, for all those reasons, Endeavor definitely deserves to be at least A tier. So where I'm going to place him, I'm going to place him actually right under Toga and right above All Might. I do think Endeavor has similar mobility to All Might, but better. And then at the same time, I feel like Toga is just a little bit more strong because she does have the ability to switch between long range, mid range, close range combat, whereas Endeavor really kind of struggles with the close range combat, and he can be singled out, and if a team knows what they're doing, they'll close the gap on Endeavor and they'll be able to do a lot of damage to him quickly. Also, Endeavor with his gamma skill, if you use it in the wrong way, you're just sitting there doing your prominence burn, and enemy teams can focus you down pretty easily. So Endeavor is kind of hard to play. He is also easy to play at the same time. I feel like this is a character that was well released. He's not too overpowered. He's not too garbage like Aizawa was on release. So overall, I think they've done a very good job with this character release. And look, we have no more characters in C tier or D tier, and I know like everybody's like, well, not all characters can be S, A, or B. There needs to be some characters that are worse than others. Well, in this case, this just means the developers are doing that good of a job at balancing the game, at balancing the characters, at making sure every character has their uses, their strengths, and their weaknesses. Now, could some characters be buffed a little bit? Absolutely. Could some characters be nerfed a little bit? Absolutely. And so in the coming weeks, we might adjust this tier list a little bit. Endeavor might go up, Endeavor might go down. He is a new character. We haven't had a ton of time to play him. A lot of the buffs and nerfs that came through haven't been fully tested. As we get more into it, we might find out a character is better than we thought or not as good as we thought. Kendo might be the best character now all the way around. It's really hard to say, you know? So we'll see. We'll adjust accordingly. Put down in the comments what you guys agree on, what you disagree on, what should be changed in the next week's tier list. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching and for supporting the channel. Peace.